Welcome to the TroutCast, the only podcast that isn't about fishing.
Welcome to episode number 1 of the TroutCast, the only podcast that isn't about fishing. I'm your captain, Kelgore Trout. I post things on Twitter and I make videos right here on this channel. So subscribe. Today we have our most special guest yet. What's up, Harvey?
What's up? I'm honored to be the first guest. Wow.
First guest. We're christening the podcast. I didn't even mean for that to be a boat joke. I'm just going to keep it going, yeah. But this is not about fishing, so let's not talk too much about like that kind of stuff. So Harvey is one of my Twitter friends. Her username is Harvey the Haint. I'll put that on the screen here. Okay. If you want to follow her. Also, she has a really cool podcast. It's called The Hoot and Holler, a podcast about the Ozarks, because you live in the Ozarks in Missouri,
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Awesome.
It's pretty over here.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some of your pictures. It looks pretty amazing. And like some pretty cool wildlife and stuff.
Yeah, we got all that.
I recently listened to an episode of Hoot and Holler where you talk a lot about multi-level marketing and the prosperity gospel and how those are kind of intertwined and how it impacts like marginalized groups a lot. And I thought that was really interesting because I listen to a lot of anti-MLM content, but it's very rarely from like a leftist perspective. So anyways, before we get started, is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself or anything?
I'm Harvey. I have my podcast, and yeah, it's a leftist podcast, and because
you guys are very funny. I love it.
Thank you. It's hard to find. It's a little bit harder to find like-minded people here in the Ozarks. So
yeah,
we talk about politics a lot, and we talk about religion a lot because of where we are, and those things are so intertwined here. And
yes, yeah,
and MLMs are so prevalent here and completely intertwined with religion for a lot of reasons. And it's one of my favorite things. I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So, however, this podcast is never more than 30 minutes. That's kind of the whole gimmick. And we have 28 minutes left on the clock. So, first
Clock's
question,
ticking.
What did you have for dinner last night?
Beef stew.
It's so hard to remember. Beef stew. Did you make it?
Beef stew. No, my husband made it, and he put Brussels sprouts in it, and that was interesting. And it was pretty good. I was worried
like, crispy,
at first,
or were they like kind of like soft?
Well, he roasted them first of all before he put them in, but after they got in, they were soft. But they were good.
I'd probably like rather have mine on the side, but I don't know. Maybe
I was worried when I saw them, but they were good.
Yeah, I recently, like pretty much maybe during the pandemic, like decided I like Brussels sprouts, and then like had like a couple months where that was like my main food. I just like was obsessed with them, and then I kind of burned out on them.
They're good.
That's kind of how I am about things. You know, I'll go my whole life without doing it, and then like speed run. Oh, Frank is trying to get in the frame. Oh.
I existed mostly on string cheese during the pandemic. Just
really?
Lots of string cheese.
So you were saying right before we started how much you love essential oils. Do you think it's wise to inject them?
Yeah, well,
oh my God, Frank, no, he's going to knock everything over. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Do your thing. Okay, wow, such grace. Wow.
I love freebasing essential oils.
Yeah. I like to cure like really, really serious illnesses with it that like normally aren't curable.
Every time I've had cancer, I've
it's usually
taken care of it.
Yeah. I don't even go to the doctor anymore. pretty crazy culture that's been built up around the scams that are MLMs. It's kind of funny to watch, like it's like top down. Like first and foremost, it's important that like the business model works, and then everything else follows. So like if we have to just make essential oils part of Christianity by like denying science, we'll make it work somehow. Right.
And they, well, I mean, and they operate, I mean, all of this stuff, because I can always tie this back to prosperity doctrine, is that it all operates on faith, the same as religion. And you have to have a lot of faith in those oils as well. Yeah. Are you aware of the Young Living founder?
Oh yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, doctor, but not doctor, like Robert Young or whatever. I don't know, Kevin Young. Gary, yeah.
Maybe Gary.
It was like
something.
It was like D. Gary Young, but then they started calling him Dr. Gary Young. And then he like killed all these people,
including his own child.
Oh god, that one's a lot. Yeah. He like, it's one thing to like grift, but if your grift is that you are pretending to be, what was it, like an obstetrician or like a midwife or something, where he was like delivering a lot of babies.
Yeah, he was delivering babies.
He went against court orders like a dozen times to deliver more babies. And I'm like, at this point, it's not just that you're trying to make money. You're like very specifically trying to do this one thing. It's really weird.
The medical grift is one of the oldest ones in the book, though. You know, that's snake oil salesman. And that's true. Essential oils are literally snake oil.
Yeah, it's not even like veiled. You know what I mean?
And another thing about essential oils that really gets me is that it's such a part of like the hippie wellness industry, but essential oil making them is such an unsustainable process. It takes I've seen hundreds of pounds of plant material to produce like this much oil.
It's really weird. I feel like certain hippie things were like very much like this like liberal, like 70s hippie culture. And it's gone there and back to now be like the culture of like the anti-science people, but in like a conservative Christian way. And it's in like a patriotic way. It's so bizarre because it doesn't make sense.
And it is the conservative Christian way, but even the ones who are still hippies and they will rail against Donald Trump. I was losing my mind at the beginning of the pandemic because I was watching multiple women on media go from like hippies selling their oils, Bernie supporters, to down the QAnon rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
And ending up posting Pepe memes like 2 months into the pandemic.
Wow. So,
like,
okay,
what is happening?
That's another one is like, I don't know. It's an argument technique. I forget what it's called. It's called like front loading or something, where you're like, hey, there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of like pedophilia in Hollywood or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that's true. And then the second part of the sentence is like, and Donald Trump is going to save the world. And he's this like mastermind. And it's like, oh, wait, what? But like they get people with like this thing up front, like, hey, this is pretty true. Like there's corrupt people running the world. Yep. And then like, and our solution is bonkers.
They understand the problem. Yeah. But the way they get to it is completely ass backwards. And I mean, that's just the way all alt-right movements draw people in. And so many, I mean, almost all of those hippie type are anti-vaxxers. And so QAnon went after anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. So one of the funniest things is like, you know, as someone who listens to a lot of like internet media and stuff, I know all about like manifestation and all like prosperity doctrine and like all that kind of stuff. But then to watch the two like merge and like watching these like anti-masker videos where they're like, I can't get COVID because I have like the magnetism or whatever. Like I'm only attracting good things and it's an evil devil wavelength. And I'm like, you're like 70 years old and like conservative and you're talking about the hippy dippiest stuff, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of unexpected.
And then on the other, the hippies will, and especially around here, because we are in the Bible Belt where I am.
Yeah.
And so the hippies have to react against evangelical culture, and they'll, they'll talk about those hypocritical evangelicals, and then in the next breath say how they're attracting wealth.
Oh yeah.
Manifestation.
Which also takes a certain level of faith, right? Like you said, a lot of these things are weirdly faith-based.
Well, MLMs and prosperity doctrine use the same language.
Yeah. Just in case anybody doesn't know, MLMs are like multi-level marketing, basically pyramid schemes that are somehow still legal. And prosperity doctrine is the belief that like whatever you give, especially to like the church, you're going to get back. So it's basically a way to trick poor people into like giving tithe, basically, like to give money every week at church because they'll like get it back in some other way. And
it goes directly into the pocket of the pastor.
Yeah, and it's like a cash transaction. I was going to ask you, how did you originally sort of get interested in MLMs or anti-MLM stuff?
Well, I guess watching so many of my friends start selling MLMs in my early 20s. And then I bought one because I was needing to lose weight quickly, right? Yeah. I was like going on a vacation or whatever, and I had some baby weight, and my friend was selling Beachbody. And so I was well, I'll try it out. And I actually did lose weight, but not because of, I was just counting calories and exercising for the first time. So I lost weight. And then when it came time to renew my subscription, these health shakes were $160. I was like,
are they gross?
Actually, they're really good.
You like them? Okay.
And it was a nightmare to try to get unsubscribed from this shake.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
And so I had absolutely zero interest in selling these things. But of course, as soon as I signed on to just do the little weight loss program, I was being pressured to sell them. And I was like, no. And so then I started paying more attention to it. And also I was raised Mormon, and MLMs are huge. Utah is the MLM capital of the world.
Do you think that gives you kind of like more, I guess, like sympathy for like these MLM people, or less sympathy?
Well, I think it allows me to see grift more clearly.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah. I have this theory. I guess it's just based on, I don't know what it's based on, but like when you have to work through some of your own kind of like cognitive dissonance about something, maybe religion, maybe something else, it makes it really hard for you to like not see it everywhere, kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you kind of see what's happening as it's happening, and you're like, I've been there, you know? And like to go from being raised Mormon to no longer being Mormon, I'm assuming. Like there's a lot that has to happen there.
Oh, yeah.
You got to work through.
And I did that. I mean, I left church when I was 17, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I left pretty early. But yeah, I feel like I can see when you're trying to start a cult.
Oops.
But also I do just girly things.
Yeah.
I do have sympathy not for the grifters who are knowingly perpetuating this. Yeah. But I mean, so many people that get involved in these things are just desperate people. Yeah. And they're victims. They're victims of scams.
Yeah, that's the messed up part, is that everyone who's involved in it, except for maybe like the founders, was at one point a victim. But victims can also victimize other people, first of all, and abuse other people. But also, I think that a ton of the people who are kind of like you said, you got signed up for it, not really realizing what was going on and stuff. And obviously you weren't trying to join, but still you got like wrapped up in it. once you realize what was happening, you got out. But I think what happens is that certain people, once they realize what's happening, they're like, oh, I get it. I get that the way I can make money doing this is by like leaning into it and doing this to other people. And I think once you cross that boundary, like, I think that it's probably really hard to reconcile later as like, oh, like I'm still a good person.
That brings me to thinking about something I saw happen was because you can only, even if you are successful doing an MLM, you can only keep it going for so long before the bottom just drops off. And so I saw the people who were successful doing their MLM stuff 10 years ago, they took that as far as they could, but then they were already realizing that they could make money being grifters. And so those are the people who transitioned to being influencers and lifestyle coaches, and that are now selling the courses. And
So I was doing some digging for a cringe video yesterday, and I found someone who, she's not in an MLM, she probably used to be, but she specifically does these like courses and stuff for people that are, and she hashtags it with like MLM success and MLM tips, but she's not selling anything. Probably because if she were, she'd be tied down to one company, but she realizes she can sell it to all these women who are just like looking for a way to somehow make some money off of this. And she can sell them all this like branding and everything. And it's like a grift inside of a grift. And it's beautiful. Yeah. It's like the turducken of grifts.
So much of this coaching stuff is coaching people to be entrepreneurs
or to be coaches.
But the entrepreneur, the starting your own business, the business is just being an influencer.
Yeah. And I also think that they all kind of pretend to be a certain level of like wealthy. And some of them might be, and some of them might be making money off of the influencing. But the idea that influencers make a ton of money and are just like, money is just like being thrown around at them is such a lie. It's such a lie. And like, it's really, really hard to watch because I'm like, you're either getting this money from someone else, like in your life, or you're just flat out lying about your lifestyle.
And that they have to do the lie because what they're selling is themselves.
Exactly.
And so no one will buy the product if they don't look successful. And that's the same way with the MLM model. Like we're supposed to believe you're making 6 figures a month selling these hideous patterned leggings, and we can too if we just work hard enough at it.
And so can you. Exactly.
And it's all a big lie.
Oh, yeah. So you also organize mutual aid too. So I'm wondering, you're in Missouri. What is it like? What kind of stuff do you guys do, and what is that like there?
So we do a weekly distribution.
Cool.
Basic survival gear for unhoused people in our community.
Nice. Okay.
And
like kits?
We just take. Well, we take a list every week of people just tell us what they want and what they need, and then we go fulfill that and bring it to them the next week, the following week. And so it's tents, sleeping bags, hygiene stuff.
This is mostly in Springfield?
Yeah. We're called the Southwest Missouri Solidarity Network, but we're mostly based in Springfield. And we've also done some other things. We've done a brake light clinic, changing people's brake lights for free.
That's a good one.
To cut down on cop interaction.
What's it like in Springfield?
Yeah, I mean, we have a large unhoused population.
Just and like the status quo now, I guess, in every city.
Well, it continues. Our city is undergoing a bit of a change because this part of the country used to be pretty well known for how low our housing costs were. And to give you an example, when I moved to Springfield 8 years ago, we rented a house. It was a 2-story house, 3 bedrooms, fenced backyard. It was $395 a month, $395 a month.
Oh my God, that's like a Peloton subscription. Like seriously, like it's just insane what's happened. I mean, like, what do you think that place you rented goes for now? Just as like a year over year kind of.
900, 1,000. Like
at least
the housing costs have skyrocketed, and they just keep building and building and building all of these luxury apartment buildings. And they literally go in and bulldoze homeless encampments and then build luxury apartments in their place. And so the number of unhoused people just continues to grow because there is nowhere for anyone to live here anymore.
Yeah, so that's something that really blows my mind. Like I said, like, okay, San Francisco is known for like tons of unhoused people and really, really expensive rents. But then I go to other places and I realize that those problems exist in a lot of other places too, especially now. I don't know about 15 years ago or something, but like, you know, I graduated high school in 2009. So pretty much since then, it's kind of been like a real shit show in general. So also, I was going to ask you, where do you go for like your kind of like MLM or anti-MLM content? Do you have like a place?
It's gotta be Instagram. I don't even use my Instagram anymore because I was literally losing my mind at the start of the pandemic. And I was like, I can't log on to Instagram. All of these people are living in some separate reality that I am not a part of. They are all acting like everything is fine and there's nothing weird going on. And that makes me feel more crazy. Like I need to be around people who are acknowledging that there is a problem. And so I just had to get off Instagram. But every once in a while I pop in there just to laugh.
Yeah.
I was on Instagram last night and I screen capped something to share with you.
Oh yeah, tell me.
This is from a lifestyle coach and it's like a meme that she shared in her stories.
Oh, they're so good at memes.
Everyone looks at the cost of a book, course, or coach. Nobody considers the cost of being in the same place 1 year from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always hear that. There's like the MLM people and they're like, if you can't afford a $300 startup kit, you need this more than anyone. And I'm like, holy shit. That has got to be.
This is another place where it uses the same prosperity doctrine language because it's you have to invest in yourself. You know, if you invest in yourself, then you'll reap the rewards.
It's like don't think about all the fear in your head. Think about what could happen. And it's like that's good for like somewhat inspirational stuff, but when it's just to scam people, like come on. You're literally telling people to like ignore their instincts.
And I feel like what you're getting on the other end is just like generic platitudes that you could find scrolling on Pinterest for 5 minutes.
So do you follow like anti-MLM accounts or do you just follow MLM Huns?
I just follow MLM Huns, but every once in a while. Straight from the source. Every once in a while I get on the anti-MLM Reddit to see because they usually have some funny stuff.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you just a couple fun little questions. What is your dad's favorite joke?
My dad is a longtime incarcerated individual, so
man. All right, so I don't know. That's not very funny, Harvey. Okay. I know. I feel like I always want to ask people this, but like it's a total gamble of whether they're going to be like, "My dad's dead," or if they're going to be like, "Oh, like it's like a fart joke." You know what I mean? And it's like, okay.
What I know of my dad, oh God, I think he's really into Duck Dynasty. So,
ooh,
like some Duck Dynasty joke, probably. God only knows.
I mean, I feel like if you're okay, not to sugarcoat anything, but I feel like one of the only positives about being incarcerated is you probably hear a lot of really good jokes. Right? Like, you got a bunch of dudes sitting around, stuck in there, and
they got nothing to do but work on their type 5.
Exactly. Working on their type 5. Exactly. And they probably hear the same guy tell the same joke 100 times, and they're like, oh my God, if I have to hear you tell this joke again. Okay, well, that didn't really... What's your favorite joke?
Oh my God.
It's
I
a
don't
hard
know
one.
any jokes.
I like to ask people questions that are really hard to answer on the spot.
Like, I can't think of a single, I've never heard a joke.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I get too when people ask me a question. People will be like, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like,
I've never seen one.
All of a sudden, I cannot think of a single movie that I've
never seen a movie.
I watched a movie last night. I have no idea what it was. Now that you asked me this. Okay, how about this? If you had to, you know what I mean? If you were the guest on a drunk history episode, what historical event are you getting drunk and talking about?
Okay. Maybe the Mormon Wars.
What? Mormon Wars versus Mormons?
The government versus Mormons.
Oh, yeah. My favorite joke about, it's not really a joke. My favorite thing to say about Mormons is that trains are older than their religion. Like, when you put it in perspective, you're like, oh wow, like this has not been around that long, right?
Mormonism is one of the only true American religions.
True. It's like the banjo of religions.
Well,
because the banjo is like one of the only American instruments, right?
The banjo is an African instrument, actually.
Wait,
yeah.
What am I thinking of then? There's like two American.
Maybe a dulcimer or something. I don't know.
Probably something really stupid. Never mind. For some reason I thought that the banjo. Oh, I think it's maybe the electric guitar is the other one. If that counts. But anyways, it's like the banjo and something else. I thought they were the only two that were like ours.
Sorry
I should have known better. I should have known better that it was not ours. We took it. Okay.
Another historical event that I really like is, do you listen to The Dollop at all? The Dollop podcast? I
have, but not in a while.
There's this crazy story about it. It's called Moving Day. And it used to be in New York City every year on a certain day, like May 3rd or whatever, everyone had to move. Everyone had to move to a new apartment.
Where?
It was a law in New York City. And the story,
it real?
The story is one of the wildest things I've ever heard. So I encourage you to look up The Dollop Moving Day.
That's super funny. Okay, so name one movie.
Wild at Heart.
Why did you name that?
Well, I named that because it's a Nicolas Cage movie, and something else about me.
But I've heard it's really good.
Oh God, it's amazing. Something else about me is that I'm on a quest to watch every single thing that Nicolas Cage has ever appeared in.
Ooh. Do you feel like there's a other than Nicolas Cage, do you feel like there's a common thread with all his work?
Well, I think the descent into madness is a common.
Oh, interesting. Before we go, can you please give our listeners a little bit of like a motivational saying to take with them? I feel like you can always just like say any random shit, and it give us a platitude.
Be an MLM saying. If you want to achieve your highest potential, you have to be willing to dig to your lowest self.
Nice. I like that. I like the high-low kind of thing. All right. Well, this has been episode number 1 of the TroutCast. Thank you for listening, and thank you to Harvey for joining me here. And yeah, I mean, let me know if you ever want to come back on the pod. We'll talk about some more stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.